And we are recording. Welcome, everybody. My name is Colin Haney. I work for the Department of Transportation. I'm the Public Information Manager there. I'm here mostly for housekeeping tonight. I want to make sure everybody's more or less comfortable with this Zoom meeting format. We're going to be doing a brief presentation tonight. We'll have time to take questions afterward. We also have a Q&A feature on Zoom. You can see there's a couple questions in there already at the bottom of your screen, the Q&A feature. You can also use the closed caption feature at the bottom of the screen that has been enabled. And we will do our best to get to everyone's questions. We are also recording this entire presentation and the discussion. Councilmember Kamei has said that she will post it to her website, so people will be able to follow up with this presentation afterwards. We also have Department of Transportation contact information at the end of the presentation. So thanks very much for joining us. I just want to hand it straight over to Councilmember Kamei.
Thank you so much, Colin. I want to thank everyone who has been involved in the Saratoga Avenue Quick Build project, from city staff to community members. Your input has been vital to our success in trying to make this area, which is our area where we're trying to bring safety to our residents and bicyclists as well as pedestrians. And we've learned a lot over the year. I know that we've received quite a bit of information in terms of the effects of having the Quick Build project in the area. It is a Vision Zero project where we had the most crashes of any other location in D1. So some of you may notice that we have reduced the speed to 35 miles an hour from 40 miles an hour, and there have been other improvements. Tonight, you will learn a little bit more about what we have learned at the Department of Transportation and the changes that we'll be making with your input as well as the input of others who frequent the corridor. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jim Bittner of the Department of Transportation. But thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
I'm the acting division manager for the Vision Zero and Traffic Safety team in the Department of Transportation. Following up on the meeting from March, where the community came out and gave a lot of good, very constructive feedback, both for and against, as well as neutral. There were a lot of comments, and it was really appreciated that everyone took the time back in March as well as today to provide input. And it really helps us because you're the eyes and ears out there. We as engineers and planners think we know a lot of the ideas, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work as well as intended, but you guys can give us the best input by being the people that see it the most. So this is an overview of year one before and after study that we did on Saratoga. It's between Lawrence and Williams. So an overview. The project was from Lawrence Expressway, Quito, all the way up to Williams. And these, as background, support many of the visions that the city has, many of the programs that were adopted by the city council, including this being a Vision Zero priority safety corridor, which means it's a corridor that has the highest killed and severe injury crashes across the city. It's part of our Better Bike Plan 2025, as well as our West San Jose Multimodal Transportation Improvement Program, or MTIP. And we also timed this so that the work was done in conjunction with the 2023 pavement program, which means we were able to save a substantial amount of money doing such a long corridor because it was done as part of the pavement project, and the striping could be done within the pavement project's work scope. So an overview of the Vision Zero program, we are aiming to eliminate traffic fatalities and severe injuries. We really are prioritizing safe and equitable and sustainable transportation for all road users, as well as improve safety for vulnerable corridors with data-driven prioritization guiding our investments. So today we're going to be really focusing on conducting the surveys where we're looking at before and after evaluations of quick build projects on priority safety corridors. The overview of that evaluation program is to monitor the street safety and look for progress with those improvements that were done, track it through project performance, evaluate by looking at data-driven solutions, and reporting out the project performance, which is what this presentation is about. So the project's objectives really was three key elements: enhancing pedestrian safety and comfort by enhancing all of the crosswalks along the corridor and upgrading streetlights along the corridor, improving bicyclist safety and access by installing new bike lanes, adding bollards where feasible, adding green pavement markings at intersections, and installing bike detection. We also aim to slow motor vehicle speeds overall and improve roadway visibility by reconfiguring the narrow travel lanes and adding radar speed signs, as well as adding yellow borders to signals and upgrading the smaller signal heads to the larger size that you see today. Evaluating the time frame for the evaluation looked at 5 years of before data, and that was 2018 through 2023. The installation was at the end of 2023 to the beginning of 2024. And now we're looking at the year one after data, which was 2024 to 2025. Here's an overview of what the before and after conditions were along the corridor. You can see on the before picture at the top, no bike lanes were on the roadway. There were 3 lanes in each direction and they were very wide. And looking at the after picture, we reduced the lanes from 3 to 2 in each direction. We narrowed all of the travel lanes. We installed radar speed signs and added protection for the bike lanes that are out there. So when we evaluated the data, we looked at the speed and volume for the corridor. Overall, the speeds were relatively unchanged, but in the reduced lane section, both sections, Williams to San Tomas Aquino and Country to Campbell, saw overall reduction in speeds. And we look at what's called the 85th percentile, which is what we base speed limits on. And for the Williams to San Tomas Aquino section, which has the highest volume on the corridor, we noticed a 3 mile per hour overall reduction in the speeds, which is substantial when you're thinking about the statistics of lowering speeds for so many cars. But we also did see a 1 mile per hour reduction in the Country to Campbell section. And when we look at the volumes, overall, they are relatively unchanged, which is good because we did not want this project to cause deterring traffic into the neighborhoods. And when you look at the volumes, you essentially say that these are unchanged because from yesterday to today to tomorrow, you can see a 1-3-5% variation in traffic day to day. So these volumes are essentially flat all along the segment. So then we looked at the crash and injury data. And when we looked at the data, we compared the year one data to the 5-year before data. And we looked at fatalities, severe injuries, as well as overall injury crashes and overall crashes. And so when we're looking at this data, we noticed that the fatal and severe injury crashes, which are the most important ones to eliminate, we did not see an increase in that area. And the one severe injury crash that we saw was a solo vehicle driver that ran off the road that really could not be attributable to this project. But we did see that the minor injury crashes and the overall crashes go up. Many of those were caused by side swipes and overall congestion. When we look at the crash and injury data from this last year, we noticed that overwhelmingly, most of the crashes are in the section near the mall, and that's from Campbell Prospect to Atherton. And in that area, we had over half of our crashes in that corridor, which included 4 rear end crashes. So recapping what we got from the feedback at the community meeting on March 8th, that was sponsored by the Senator Cortese's office and Councilmember Kamei, as well as the surveys that came out and many of the emails that we received. This is an overall summary of those concerns or insights that came out of the meeting. We noticed that there was a lot of complaints about the traffic congestion, especially near Westgate Mall during peak hours, that the right turns felt more difficult or could take longer in some areas, that the inconsistent roadway markings, especially near shared bike and vehicle merges at right turns was also a key complaint. But we also heard from bicyclists who felt an overall increase in safety, as well as a higher comfort using these protected bike lanes on a corridor that they didn't feel comfortable using before. We also saw slower overall vehicle speeds, making walking and bicycling feeling safer for everyone. And the brighter traffic signals and streetlights improved overall visibility and safety. So when we're looking at that, we reevaluated the section in front of Westgate Mall, especially in the northbound direction. And what we noticed was we could still get bikeway improvements, as well as keeping that third lane. And that was one of the main concerns that came up at that community meeting. So with that, we're proposing to restore the third northbound lane along the mall frontage that will really allow the circulation to be like it was before, where the left two lanes are more for through traffic to go towards 280, and the right lane is more of an access to the mall lane, where you have right turns turning right into the mall, as well as providing a right turn out of the mall kind of circulation lane, if you want to call it that. But by doing that, we would still be able to provide the pylons similar to the picture here. If you look at the far side of the picture, where we could put the pylons away from where the right turn areas are. By doing that, we would be able to provide the circulation for vehicles, as well as maintain the safety for bicyclists along the corridor. We would also consider looking at the merge areas that came up as a predominant concern for right turns near the bike lanes. The photo to the top shows what's existing today, where the pylons come up near the end of the intersection. And what that concern that came out of that was that people turning right from this lane weren't able to get out of the way of through traffic. So many times they felt like they were rushing the right turn. And by doing so, looking for bicyclists that may be next to them or in their blind spot didn't become a priority for those cars turning right. But conversely, if you look at the photo on the bottom, if we have a 100-foot area that's all dashed, that would provide an area without bollards for the vehicles to slowly merge into the bike lane and be able to make that right turn as they merge together with the bicyclists. And that does align with many of the other installations we've done across the city, as well as in neighboring jurisdictions. And it's something we've been working together with our geometrics team to really try to understand what works best at these types of intersections, because there's a lot of pluses and minuses to many of the things that we propose. So a collaboration as well as a field test for the last year has really helped us to understand what works best for these types of intersections in the city of San Jose. So in conclusion, looking at a summary, our recommendations are to reinstall the third northbound lane along the along the Westgate Mall frontage, and that would be between Prospect, Campbell, and Atherton. And we're really striving to get this installed, if we get the blessing at this meeting, to do so before Thanksgiving. If this is something that is preferred, then we really want to make sure it's installed as feasible as possible before the holiday season, so that the mall frontage during the peak times will have that third lane for the access and circulation that it needs. Second recommendation would be to remove the protection of the bike lane bollards near the intersections and instead install a merge area at those approaches. And that's something that we would look to try to install once it's blessed by this meeting, sometime in early 2026. In addition, we're planning to install speed cameras along the corridor sometime late next year, and conducting the year 2 evaluation to see how these modifications change the overall character of the road, as well as the speed limit change that the council member referred to that was implemented following a city council approval in August. With that, we also have 35 pavement markings that are all laid out in the street to remind people of what the new speed limit is on that street. As a driver myself, one of the things that I notice is you tend to start forgetting the signs on the side of the road. And so this is a supplemental installation that we're doing across the city, where if we put a 35 in the middle of the lane, it's much more likely that a driver is going to be able to see that marking than see the 35 sign on the side of the street. We've also reprogrammed the radar signs that are in the middle of the road that I showed on the front page to have the 35 sign, as well as recalculating the speeds to say slow down for anybody doing 40 or above. And with that, I'll open it up to questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I wanted to start off with some questions that we have typed into the Q&A right now. First one on this list is in reference to this recent speed limit reduction. How much evaluation has been done at this point regarding lowering the speed limit to 35? They've only very recently been reduced to 35. I don't know if you or one of our colleagues can talk about the analysis that went into that decision to lower the speed limit.
I'll try to tackle it. So there was a new assembly bill that became state law at the beginning of the year that allows cities the option of considering roadways, what they're calling safety corridors. And these are roadways that are deemed the most highest severe injury and fatal crashes all out of a city. And with that, the city council adopted safety corridors across the city, and Saratoga was one of them. Once you adopt that as a safety corridor, it gives more flexibility in being able to post the speed limits on those roadways, because speed is the number one reason why we have those fatal and serious crashes. And being that this was one of those, we evaluated the speed data on that roadway, and with the safety corridor designation, we were able to adopt the new lower speed limit in August of 35 miles per hour.
Thanks, Jim. I've got a couple comments here and a question. One comment I'll just read. I feel it's more dangerous to turn right on Saratoga Avenue from San Tomas Aquino when going west, where if you would go straight, the street turns into Doyle. Also turning onto Mitzi Drive from Saratoga Avenue when headed north on Saratoga Avenue, all traffic slows down backing up to San Tomas Aquino. Having only 2 lanes on Saratoga causes the traffic to back up all the way from 280 on Saratoga Avenue to Mitzi Drive. It took me 20 minutes to get from Mitzi to 280. Thanks for your feedback on that. Next comment is there's no consistency here as compared to Prospect Avenue from Lawrence to De Anza. And stop me, Jim, if you want to comment on these, but we're taking these as feedback, and this meeting's being recorded. So we'll have these comments written and in the audio. And then here's a question. Adding a new bike lane and putting the travel lane back close to the bike lane seems counterproductive. Is it possible to provide concrete barriers at those sections to separate 40-mile-an-hour plus traffic from bicyclists and walkers?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. The barrier will still be wide. It will not be 1 or 2 feet, and we will continue to have the pylon bollards in between them. It aligns with much of the city where this has been our standard practice. I believe that the barrier will be 6 or 7 feet still. So it'll still be a big wide striped area with the bollards put in the middle of them. As far as making them concrete, that is one of the identified goals of our new Vision Zero action plan that went to council earlier this year in February, where we make that a priority to identify funding sources, grants, or other sources to try to make these quick build installations permanent. They're expensive, and that's why we've been able to do quick build instead, because we're able to do magnitudes more corridors with the very limited funding that we do have at this time, versus doing possibly 1 or 2 corridors total across the entire city if we were to make them into concrete. So it is definitely one of the focused goals of our Vision Zero program. We're collaborating with Vision Zero programs across the country. I literally had a call over lunch with 30 other cities across the country. And these are the types of discussions that are coming out of those, is how other cities and other states are finding methodologies to get these types of improvements delivered. Personally, I don't want to rest on our laurels of doing quick builds across the city. They are still maintenance heavy improvements that do get hit, and when they get hit, they can lean, so our crews have to go out and replace them. So there's ongoing maintenance costs that we always have to incorporate into these installations, versus putting in curbs where they're much more stronger and can hold up to a vehicle bumping against them. So, in summary, that is definitely a priority for us, and I appreciate the comment.
Thanks, Jim. One more comment read, not related to this, but the worst right turn these days is from Hamilton going west onto San Tomas Aquino. And then Ramesh, you started typing, you also have your hand raised. So I'm going to click allow to talk. Would you like to ask your question?
Oh, sure. Thank you. In the slide, it says remove bike protection bollards, like near Westgate Mall. And my general comment is, please think of bike safety and make it, encourage biking, not discourage biking. That's all.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, so it says remove protected bike lane bollards. I just wanted to clarify that was only at the intersection approaches. And it's to try to get rid of what's called the right hook problem, where a vehicle in the top picture turns almost at a 90-degree turn, and it's harder for the driver to be able to see the bicyclist versus the driver slowly merging over in the bottom picture, and it's more of a shared space before the vehicle turns. So we definitely are considering bicyclist safety in these improvements, and we do not want to go backwards. So that is a great point. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Next question. What consideration has been given to the upcoming El Paseo construction on both sides of Saratoga Avenue? Undoubtedly, this will add further disruption for the next 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have an answer to that because it's development related. I know that's a little west of here where it still has 3 lanes. So that is the unfortunate kind of price of progress, that when developments come in, the right lanes tend to be a little less efficient.
Mhm. Thanks. Next is if you do add the lane at map frontage, can they just be right turn only lanes? Otherwise, people are just going to speed in that lane to cut the lines and get to the end and have to merge back to the through lanes.
Typing alternatives. The unfortunate problem is it makes it much more inefficient for bicyclists because they'll be on the right side of the road and then have to merge through that right turn lane starting to get between the right turn and the through lanes. So it puts them weaving. It's not a straight path. It also puts them exposed to the traffic with vehicles behind them merging into that right turn pocket, but it also puts the bicyclists in the middle of the road so that you have right turn traffic to their right, through traffic to their left, and it's not nearly as safe as having a curb on the right side of the bicyclists. If we do put right turn pockets, we really cannot, by state law and federal law, put a bike lane to the right of a right turn pocket at a signalized intersection, unless we were to give the bicyclists their own green light, which would cause tremendous backups for right turning traffic. If the bicyclist had its own green light at the intersection, it would cause delay for everybody at every signal if the bicyclists were on the right side of a right turn lane. So it was one of the things that we hashed out extensively with our geometrics team to really try to identify all the pluses and minuses of each of these considerations. It's not easy. There's always trade-offs, and we're really trying to find the best and safest solution for all users on this roadway. And this is what the plan laid up.
Thanks, Jim. And just to let you know, we've got about it looks like 12 questions in the queue. So we're going to charge through these. Any planned deterrents to pedestrians crossing in the middle of the block at Westgate on Saratoga instead of at the stoplights? If pedestrians were to walk to the stoplights, it would be a lot safer for pedestrians and drivers.
I will write that down, and we'll look into possible solutions for that too. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. This is back to the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit question. I guess we interpreted it wrong. It wasn't having to do with the reason for lowering the speed, but whether the new speed limit has been in place long enough to allow any analysis of what difference it is making. And I'm pretty sure that no, it has not.
Yeah, it was approved by council in August, so that will be one of the things that will show up in our year 2 data. So I don't know if we're um manned up enough to be able to do it across the city for all of the other safety corridors that have speed changes, but we will be fortunate that Saratoga can be kind of the beta test to see what the impacts are in our year 2 data and how it changes from year 1.
Thanks. And I see hands up. I'm going to get through a few of these written questions, and I'll move over to hands. When the Costco and Whole Foods and El Paseo high-rise apartments go in, Saratoga will be a disaster in traffic and very dangerous. We need all the lanes restored all the way to 280 because that's how all the traffic will come. You mentioned you did a traffic operational analysis that took this into account. Hundreds of us don't believe that study and would like to see all the data published ASAP so we can comment.
Okay.
We could take that as a comment. Yeah,
yeah.
I believe we can provide that
Yeah.
operational analysis to the public.
Yes.
And perhaps we'll work with a council member to get a link to that. We'll get that posted. Yeah, next one. I'm an experienced cyclist who has been riding all my adult life for 48 years. I cycle most places. I approve of your proposed modifications. Reinstalling the third lane is not counterintuitive to me. It would bring traffic closer to me as a cyclist, so they are more likely to see me. Most drivers who turn right and cut me off say they never saw me and were even unaware there was a bike lane, even though I wear bright clothing and flashing lights. I live on Barrymore. Thanks for the comment. Next is, what happened to my suggestion to move the right turn lane inside the bike lane mid-block, as can be seen on McClellan and Sterling and Cupertino? This can be done with bollards rather than concrete.
Can you say that again?
The suggestion was to move the right turn lane inside the bike lane mid-block, as can be seen on McClellan and Sterling and Cupertino.
We'll talk to our geometrics team and see if that's feasible for our road.
Thanks. Let's see, I got Dawn, you've had your hand up for a while. I'm calling on you. You could please go ahead. Dawn Eberhard?
Mute. Can you hear
There you
me?
go. I can hear
Okay.
you. Yep.
Yeah, I spoke at Senator Cortese's meeting on the 8th, and fortunately, after that, I think the senator had a 89-page report that went to the city of San Jose relative to these issues, Jim, and other people listening. This was originally discussed with John Risto 2 years ago, in fact, September 23, and we've lobbied very strongly to get representation on this. And relative to the subject matter here, you're discussing one Saratoga corridor. Concern is that this is widespread throughout the whole city of San Jose. It's not just that corridor. I did mention during that meeting that there's no consistency, and mentioned and showed pictures of the portal from Lawrence to De Anza Boulevard, where the merge lanes both into private neighborhoods and at traffic lights are clearly like shared lanes, and that should be the model for Saratoga and beyond, with an emphasis on beyond. Relative to safety, Jim, there is an area of Saratoga Avenue near Doyle Road where they have a bike lane on the inside of cars parked on Saratoga Avenue. Those cars, when they open the doors, are like a foot away from 35 or 40 mile an hour traffic. That's flat out dangerous. And that needs to be eliminated. I presented pictures during that September or that March meeting about that, and I don't see any response onto that. The issue of those posts at Country Lane, if you're making a left, they totally obscure your view of oncoming traffic. You can't see where they're coming from. So the message here is that this is not just Saratoga Avenue. This is beyond. It's you see things on Hamilton near Santa Monica Road, and if the light is red as it is now, you can't make a turn. Same thing on Graves and all over the place. Williams. I talked to people at Jiffy Lube, and they said that that's not doing anything, and there's still bike accidents, and a lot of people aren't even using these things. They're driving on the sidewalks or whatever. So way back when, I had suggested this be brought to the city council for an open hearing where people like that are on this Zoom, which is great, have an opportunity to have the council and people from the Department of Transportation hear people real time versus Zoom. And that's my recommendation still. No response from the mayor's office at all. So what say you, Mr. Bittner?
That was a lot, so I apologize if I don't respond to each part of it. But when you talked about the visibility on Country Lane, this right here is directly related to that, these two photos. You look at the top one where the pylons are, what we're proposing is the bottom one. And so that should also directly benefit the visibility concern that you mentioned. The McClellan reference, I will look into that with our geometrics team to see if that's something that could be feasible on this corridor. I don't recall where that is, or those specific markings that you're talking about. When you talk about this type of situation in other parts of the city, this is a relatively new type of installation that the city of San Jose has been doing by putting these pylons up to the intersection. Like I mentioned, many other parts of the city do not have that. And so it is something that we're reassessing to see if having that merge area that we're changing it to here would be something that we should consider at those other locations that you mentioned. So it is an ongoing evaluation across the city, yes.
The last part, Jim, is actually relative to these changes. This is massive expenditure of either grant money or other money coming from wherever for this project. But what about the sustainability of this? There are road markings all around the city that are faded, and the amount of markings that you put in with green paint or whatever, who's going to be paying for this, or how is this going to be maintained over time?
So the pavement markings that we do use, including the green markings, don't use normal paint. They use what's called thermoplastic, and it's heated, superheated plastic that's melted onto the roadway. It's the same type of striping that's used on the expressways and freeways. So it's very, very durable, and it's intended to last 7 to 10 years on the roadway without fading. If you notice the striping that's out there, it looks like it may be faded, but it's more like dirt or tire marks. It's not fading yet. And when we get these new rains from the season, it kind of washes it away and makes it look a lot brighter. As far as how we're doing these changes that we're proposing, we're really looking, if we go back a slide, what we're really looking at for this striping right here, to be able to modify it would really only be kind of working on about 12 to 13-ish feet of asphalt. The rest of it would remain unchanged. So we're really not having to completely redo the road like we did the first time. We're not going to have to touch the bike lane because the buffer is going to stay. It's just going to be the cross-hatched area where you see this one Chevy driving to turn right and the Honda, reshaping it to look like the picture below, which means taking out about 10 or 12 feet of that striping and putting in a lane. So we're not touching the lane line on the left where the white SUV is, and we're not touching the bike lane on the right. It's really going to be, like I said, about 12 or 13 feet that we would be restriping. And our plan is to take many of those bollards and delineators that are out there and reuse them on the corridor, so we would not have to get new bollards, we would not have to get new signs, and we wouldn't have to repaint 2/3 of the road. It would only be basically about a lane worth of striping that we would redo to put the lane back. So overall, the cost of the project, we're estimating it's probably going to be about $50,000 for the entire length of the mall. In the scheme of things, that actually ends up being relatively inexpensive for the amount of work we're gonna get benefit from. And like I said, we're really trying to find a way, if and when we move forward tonight, to get this all installed before the holidays, because we really want that benefit to be completely available before the Thanksgiving, Christmas season comes up.
Thanks, Jim. I'm going to just point out we've got about at least 11 questions pending. We've got about 20 minutes left tonight. We have a hard stop at 6 so that many of us can go do more community outreach across town. Okay, Rick, Lou, you've had your hand up for a bit. Would you like to ask your question? Rick, it looks like you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much. Jim, thanks for the work you've done here. I appreciate it very much. I represent a large group of people that have been very upset by the installation of these bollards and the whole program. We understand why these were put in place, but we do not believe that this has made it more safe. Part of the reason is that a lot of the data you took on traffic analysis has to do with known accidents, known reported incidents, but there has been a noticeable uptick in aggressive driving because of the installation of these bollards, because of the reduction of the lanes. We requested in many meetings before that it would be good to have that taken into account, quantified in some manner, but it doesn't look like it was. I applaud that you took away and restored the lanes around Westgate. That is a very good thing, because there was a lot of danger trying to pick those right turns into Westgate. But I do implore you and the rest of the DOT to do the same thing along the rest of Saratoga all the way up, especially, like, for example, northbound Saratoga Avenue at Payne. My understanding is you will not be changing the bollards there. That is a very dangerous corner. A lot of people are turning right onto Payne to get to the post office or to get to San Tomas. They can't. They back up, they slow down in the right lane, and then they jet across. Or some people just kind of go inside the bollards. I've seen that a lot. And those aren't reported. Those aren't like written down in some sort of traffic report that comes up as a data point for you to realize that this is actually a very dangerous thing. I think you need to do what you've already done at Westgate, which is add the ability for cars to swerve into the bike lanes to turn right. It totally takes away all the danger. I think that would be 90% of everybody is very interested in seeing, because people do slow down and they stop suddenly because they're trying to turn right, but they can't figure out what's going on. And then they jet across, or someone's walking across the intersection and they have to stop dead in the intersection, making effectively one lane moving on the left.
Completely understand what you're saying. Yeah.
That is not good.
Yeah.
So,
And this,
Please.
so I don't want to cut you off, but I just want to kind of reiterate that this is one of these treatments that we're proposing to do to help with that, by putting that basically 100-foot merge lane so those right turns can kind of get out of the way.
yeah,
If they have to wait for the pedestrian to cross, kind of thing. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
yes, please, everywhere all along Saratoga Ave.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what we're planning. Yeah.
okay, so it's not just around Westgate.
No. Sorry. That I say intersection approaches. In my mind, it made sense. I appreciate you calling that out, because I want to make it clear. This is along the corridor that we're really trying to make those right turn behaviors kind of more typical that everybody expects when there's a bike lane or where there's not a bike lane, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then
Yeah,
one last
no
thing, and then I'll get off and see the time. Yeah, when El Paseo goes up, those apartments go up, Whole Foods goes up, Costco goes up, there's going to be a ton of traffic going up and down Saratoga Ave. This is going to change your whole plan. So really kind of consider that. I think that that's going to make things so congested. This is going to be a discussion again in a year and 2 years and 3 years.
Yeah.
And
It could be.
so,
Yeah.
so please consider that.
Yeah, and that's why I want to kind of reiterate, this is an iterative process, right? Things change, land uses change, characteristics change on the roads. So we're not going anywhere. And if things change, we're going to be right here to work with you to try to find the best solutions for it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I'm going to bounce back over to the written Q&A real quick. We've got one. It seems that your sample size is too small to draw any conclusion of the effectiveness of these changes. Are there other studies that validate the effectiveness of these changes?
So that's one of the things when we're doing the quick build studies. Let me go back to that slide real quick. When we're looking at that, we do 5 years worth of data to try to dilute year to year variability, which when we're doing a quick build analysis, we do year one, we're not putting a ton of emphasis onto the data because we know after 3 months of letting people get used to it, 1 year of data is not the greatest snapshot of seeing trends. But because it's quick build, this is how this program specifically is set up so that we can identify, are there specific hotspots that we should adjust the quick build installations, add, modify, remove. That's where we are right now. There's going to be a year 2 study that comes after we implement whatever changes we make, wait 3 more months, and then do a 1 more year assessment. That will give us a little more reasonable 2-year period of data to see if there's any trending changes and if there's anything else we may need to modify along the corridor. So this is just an iterative process. Like I said, they're quick builds, so it's relatively cheap to make those modifications. You know, contrary to that, if we do a real capital project and it's all in concrete, you're just going to do an after study a year or 2 later because you're not assuming you're going to change any concrete. So this is a very different animal than a normal construction project would be, because we want to see if there's any areas we need to modify our quick builds. The year 2 data should give us a lot better analysis of the corridor and where things stand after a couple of years.
Thanks, Jim. Next question. Have we considered closing the slip lanes near the Westgate Center and other areas? Walking across these plazas crossings like these slip lanes is very uncomfortable.
I think that's something that we all completely agree with. It's a cost issue when we're talking about those triangles at the signals. Getting rid of those triangles and making it more like a standard right turn means relocating that signal equipment back to the corner. And I'm not sure everybody realizes each corner would cost about $400,000 to modify, give or take. So it's very, very cost prohibitive. I am not a fan at all of the slip lanes. I think that they have a lot of negative connotations for bicyclists, for pedestrians, and for just yielding to the other traffic. So I think everybody in DOT would agree with that if we could find the resources to do those types of improvements, we are definitely open to doing those.
Thank you. Another question, is there any plan or potential for creating protected intersections like Fremont has? Those seem like they work much better for cars and bikes alike.
I live in Fremont. I'm not terribly sold that the drivers would agree with that. Those are also about $1.5 to $2 million installations that they were able to find a one-time grant to do, I believe, 4 intersections in the city. I do not believe they have an ongoing program to do those types of improvements. There are obviously a lot of positives to it, but there are also some negatives, like vehicles drive through the corner gas stations because they're so frustrated trying to turn right. And so there are a lot of pluses and minuses to all of the things we're talking about. We are definitely evaluating where appropriate to put in protected intersections. We do have a couple in downtown San Jose. Park in Almaden is an example that is actually very wonderful, but it is very cost prohibitive for us to consider that as a program tool right now.
Yeah, high cost and context sensitive. I'm going to read a couple comments here from Bernard. One is, I'm okay with bollards, but a 10-foot separation between bike lane and traffic means the drivers are unaware of cyclists. And his other comment is, I have suffered many right hooks, including 2 10 days ago. I'm sorry to hear that, Bernard. I'm going to jump back over. We got about 13 minutes left. I'm going to call on some people that have had their hands up patiently. Starting with George. George, I think it's Fota. If you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
You guys didn't talk about the traffic flow in the morning. I live on Mitzi, and to go from Mitzi down to 280, it's another 20 minutes to my commute now. And of course, people that want to turn right on Williams, it's a disaster. They're going through the neighborhood, which I don't know if you guys are aware of. Last week, we had 2 major accidents, and I sent pictures to Rosemary's office about one where he went across the bike lane into the concrete light post in the shopping center. And then we have people that try to cross Piper to Saratoga, make that left-hand turn, and that's just a disaster. And the only reason the speed is slowed down is because there's so much more traffic. So, I mean, you guys really messed up the street. I moved in here in 1984, and I almost hate to go down Saratoga now. I go through the back way. And then in the morning when I get over to Will Rogers and Williams, I don't know what the heck happened there now, but the traffic backed up from Saratoga on Williams is unbelievable. And then people are getting over to the oncoming traffic to make a left-hand turn because there's so much traffic going straight. And I don't know what that's all caused. So, I mean, years ago, there was a guy that worked in the DOT called Jim Hilmar. And I worked with him on the corner of Bascom and Heading because I was there all the time. And I live here all the time and I see all this traffic because I'm only right at the corner there of Mitzi and Saratoga. And, you know, you guys come out and you look at stuff, but when you live here 24/7, you see all the stuff that happens. And I think you need to talk to people like me and whoever else lives that close to the traffic and see what goes on and let you guys know what's really happening. And I don't feel any safer on Saratoga Avenue, believe me.
All right. Thank you for the feedback. We had that typed out most of that too before. Appreciate it. I'm going to call next on Seth. Let's see. There you go, Seth. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yep, thank you. Hi, my name is Seth Barbary from West San Jose. I commute a lot by bike to the West Valley Library there at Saratoga and Tantas-Aquino. I feel a lot safer thanks to the bike lanes. Thank you all so much for putting these in. I know it's been a lot of effort and work. I've seen the effort over the years to get those installed. I know it's one of its kind coming with San Jose outside of downtown. So thank you again for continuing to evaluate these, finding ways to make it better. I know y'all are doing your hardest. So thank you again. Please keep the bike lanes the way they are.
Appreciate the feedback, Seth. Thank you. I'm going to call one more hand raise. Carlin, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. That intersection at McClellan and Stelling is eastbound on McClellan, but the very first picture on your the opening picture has that the bollards way out in the middle of the street, and the bollards curve out mid-block. Push that bike lane out to the bollards, leave the bollards where they are, but move the bike lane out to the edge of the traffic lane, and then take out the bollards at the well, the first bollards you're going to have to take out because that's where the right turns are going to move into the right turn lane, and then the right turns will have, you know, you're going to have 4 or 5 cars lined up for a right turn inside those first 2 bollards, and still have the bike lane coming out mid-block there, so that the bikes are protected that are going straight in particular, and bikes that are turning right, well, they can merge with the bike with the traffic, the right turn traffic, but the left turn bikes can go straight. So that's basically what that intersection would look like. And all you have to do is remove the 2 bollards on the in front on there, and turn that into a right turn lane with the bike lane moving in that painted area where the blocked lane turns down the street there, and make that opening area there an opening to the right turn lane. I'm done. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Carlin. Thanks for the feedback. I'll turn back to the written comments. We've got bikers should be on the sidewalk to be safer. I think that kind of varies depending on how fast you're going as a bicyclist. We do have kids right on the sidewalk, but as you get older and faster, it's actually kind of shocking for drivers pulling out of driveways to find someone coming at them 10 or 12 miles an hour on the sidewalk, although it is allowed on most streets in San Jose. Ramesh says, I use and I'm grateful for the bike lanes on Saratoga Ave and Moore Park Avenue. It enables biking between Westgate and Santana Row. Seth, where'd it go? Oh, Seth is asking, can a link or information to the right hook be added? I'm also curious if the city considered a no right turn on red for better bike safety. Jim, could you address the no right on red idea?
Yeah, the no right on red is an idea. Again, one of the ones that we considered. It comes down to if the sign is there, is it a blank out sign? Is it only during part of the phases? Or is it just a static sign that sits there and says no right turn on any red? If there's any kind of right turn demand, a lot of the comments that we got tonight kind of reiterates that the right turns is still a very big concern for everybody. If they can't turn on red, then that could exacerbate any benefit that we were trying to get out of taking out the pylons on the approaches. And then there's the compliance issue where if it's a sign and people don't see any reason for it at 11 or 12 at night, they're not going to respect it. So it's hard for us to put a sign up there for 24/7 if there's only certain times that we would want that to be restricted. It's a hard one. It's a very big challenge for us as traffic engineers, trying to see what that benefit is versus the big trade-offs that are involved with it. I do personally deeply believe in my experience that this right here, doing this solution of taking out the bollards for the last 100 feet approaching the intersection could have a tremendous impact on all of the right turn traffic getting out of the way, queuing up safely, turning right on red. It's kind of a lot of pluses with minimal minuses overall. So I think that that's something that we should pursue, and that would help really have that impact for the right turns that everybody's feeling right now.
Thanks, Jim. And so I'm going to say, I don't really understand your question about the link or information to the right hook. If you want to add something back into the Q&A or raise your hand, we can try to address that, but we only have about 4 minutes left. Bernard says there's still drivers who drive in the bike lane to the right of the bollards to make a right turn. It just happened to him. I think that this change in design is meant to address a lot of that. Would you agree, Jim?
I agree completely.
I'm confused by the use of traffic fatalities to justify the speed cameras and designation as a safety corridor. What I recall from your chart is that there are essentially 0 fatalities most years, including last year. Are you basing the designation on total accidents? If those are mainly found around Westgate, as you mentioned, then why change the speed along the whole corridor?
Well, that analysis was done either during or right before this roadway change was done, and it was based on across the city 3 or 5 years worth of data. So if you look at the ranges on the left, there was between 0 and 1 fatalities in each of the 5 years, and 0 to 3 severe injury crashes in that range. So it's really kind of looking at the hotspots over a 3 or 5 year period and which ones rise to the top of the areas that have the most serious crashes in the city. And that's the type of analysis that was done to figure out the safety corridors and the speed limit changes.
Great. Just to clarify, those numbers are for each year within the 5 years.
Correct. That's a range between 0 and 1, 0 to 3, 3 to 11, and 12 to 23 in
Got it.
the 5 years. Yes.
Thank you. Rick says the last caller had great comments. Anonymous attendee says, thank you for all the work you've done. The improvements for bikes have been greatly appreciated. Rick says we need to prioritize traffic safety over bike lanes. I do think we're trying to do both, and we're trying to provide safety for all users of the road. Can the road buttons be evaluated versus car turning radius? When I turn right from Saratoga onto Atherton, I end up going over the line to the opposite lane when I try to turn around the buttons as directed on the signs. I think the buttons are the bollards.
No, I think it's the little raised
Oh, the box
reflective
dots.
pavement,
Yeah.
reflection.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll take a look at that and see if there's any small modifications that can be done for that. Yeah.
Thank you. We got 1 minute left. I'll read one more. Hi, I want to address Bernard's comment if possible. I'm also an experienced cyclist and I still ride recreationally. I agree personally about moving traffic closer to the bike lane. But when I think about biking with my wife along Saratoga, who is terrified of cars and would only bike on trails, I can't say that she would do it without protection. So if the bikes are going to be closer to speeding traffic, it would be nice to get at least some protection other than just paint and plastic. I think you touched on that with the ultimate desire to move to more permanent materials once we get these issues kind of worked out and then we have the funding lined up.
Right.
Thanks. Well, we are at 6 o'clock. I want to respect everybody's time, especially those who have to jet across town and go to another meeting. Councilmember Kamei, did you want to close us out?
Yes, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who attended, and really thank you for the work. This is sort of a continuous loop of improvements, and so we will be making these changes. Thank you for your comments. And there will be, I guess, Jim, there will be a year 2 review to see the changes that we subsequently made and what the effects are. So I hope you join us again in the future. Like we said in the beginning, I will have this presentation, the Q&A on my website. And, you know, perhaps those who didn't have an opportunity to attend can also listen to the discussion and the information. And with that, I want to say thank you so much and good evening.
Thanks very much, Councilmember. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for giving us some of your time this evening.